This defendant walked into court and immediately turned the hearing into a tense situation. From the very beginning, she kept interrupting and talking over the judge, refusing to follow normal courtroom procedure. Instead of responding directly to the charges, she started using arguments often associated with so-called sovereign citizen beliefs, claiming she didn't consent to the court's authority and insisting certain laws didn't apply to her. And no matter how strongly someone believes in those ideas, they simply don't hold up in an actual courtroom. Courts operate under established legal systems, and personal interpretations don't override that. As she continued speaking over the judge and repeating those claims, the atmosphere in the room became increasingly strained. The judge, in this case, appeared patient, perhaps more patient than some would expect, allowing her to speak rather than immediately cutting her off. Some viewers may see that as restraint and professionalism, while others may feel a firmer response was needed. I won't give away how it unfolds, but it definitely becomes a moment that highlights how the legal system responds to disruptive behavior. Let me know what you think about how the judge handled it as you watch. I honestly feel for the attorneys in moments like this. They went through years of education and training to practice law, and then they find themselves trying to manage situations like this in open court. You can almost read the frustration on the lawyer's face, like he's doing everything he can to stay composed and professional. It's not an easy position to be in. When a client keeps interrupting, arguing basic legal authority, or refusing to follow courtroom procedure, it makes the attorney's job even harder. Instead of focusing on building a solid legal argument, they're stuck trying to control the situation and prevent it from getting worse. Cases involving sovereign citizen-style arguments tend to create that kind of tension. Those claims rarely hold up in court, but they can still derail a hearing if things aren't handled carefully. You can tell the lawyer is trying to keep everything from spiraling, even when the energy in the room feels completely off. All right, I'm calling it now. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends with around 3 months in custody. I'm watching this unfold in real time just like you are, and the direction it's heading doesn't look promising for her. At this point, it almost feels like she's more focused on arguing the system itself than actually improving her outcome, that I also wouldn't be shocked if she decides to dismiss her appointed attorney and try to represent herself. That move rarely works out well, especially when someone already struggles to follow courtroom procedure. Instead of reducing the consequences, it often makes things more complicated. It's interesting how in some of these cases, the constant resistance to the court's authority seems to push the situation further in the wrong direction. When someone refuses to engage with the process realistically, the outcome usually becomes tougher, not lighter. Drop your predictions below. Where do you think this is headed? Let's jump back in and see how it plays out. Pretending not to understand what's happening might be one of the worst strategies in a situation like this. What's the goal exactly? Claiming confusion after tearing up official court paperwork and marking it up doesn't exactly strengthen a defense. That's not how legal arguments are made, and it certainly doesn't help credibility in front of a judge. Court documents are serious, and treating them casually sends the wrong message right away. Instead of showing responsibility or willingness to cooperate, it makes it seem like the process isn't being taken seriously. Judges expect respect for the court and its procedures, even if someone disagrees with the system. Moments like this can quickly shift the tone of a hearing. What might have started as manageable can spiral simply because someone chooses defiance over strategy. In a courtroom, preparation and professionalism matter far more than attitude or theatrics. No disrespect to the judge at all, but part of me wishes he would take a firmer approach here. It's becoming clear that she's not interested in answering the court's questions in a productive way. Instead of engaging with the process, she keeps interrupting and steering the conversation off track. That makes it difficult for the hearing to move forward. Each time the judge tries to speak, she talks over him, almost as if she's trying to control the room. But a courtroom doesn't function that way. There's a structure and order for a reason, and when someone refuses to follow it, the entire proceeding slows down. It shifts the focus away from the actual legal issues and turns it into a back-and-forth argument that at some point, patience has limits. The court's time is valuable, and so is everyone else's who is present. When a defendant won't cooperate or allow the judge to finish a sentence, it doesn't help their case. It only adds to the tension and delays a resolution. Am I the only one feeling frustrated watching this? Wishing the judge would take a firmer stance? There's only so much disruption a courtroom can handle before it starts to feel unproductive. At some point, you expect the proceedings to be brought back under control so the case can actually move forward. Maybe I'm stricter than most when it comes to courtroom decorum, but structure and order exist for a reason. When constant interruptions and off-topic arguments take over, it starts to feel less like a legal hearing and more like unnecessary chaos. That kind of atmosphere doesn't help anyone involved out of course. Judges are trained to be patient and give people the opportunity to speak, even when it's difficult. There's a balance between maintaining authority and allowing someone their moment to respond. I'm curious what you think. Should the judge have stepped in more forcefully? Or was the patience the right move here? Wait, is she really bringing up her degrees right now? It feels like she's trying to prove she has some kind of special legal knowledge, but none of that changes how a courtroom actually works. No matter what someone has studied, the judge and the law set the rules in that space. Confidence is one thing, but there's a big difference between being educated and understanding courtroom procedure. Acting overly certain while ignoring how the system functions can backfire quickly. The legal process isn't a debate stage. It's structured, and it follows very specific guidelines. Meanwhile, her attorney looks like he's doing everything possible to prevent the situation from getting worse. You can almost sense him trying to steer things back on track, so she doesn't face even harsher consequences later. At the end of the day, preparation and strategy matter far more than bold claims or dramatic energy in front of a judge. Alright, so she's misunderstanding how this works. She's arguing that the show cause order doesn't apply to her because she claims she wasn't on bond. But that's not how the legal system operates. A show cause order isn't based only on bond status. It's based on the court's authority over the case, that if someone has been released under any type of court condition, whether it's bond, bail, or another form of supervised release, they are still subject to the court's rules. The obligation to appear when ordered doesn't disappear just because a person believes a specific label doesn't apply to them. Court directives are tied to the case itself, not just the technical wording someone prefers that at the end of the day. When a judge issues an order to appear, that requirement stands. Ignoring it or trying to redefine it doesn't change the responsibility. The system may be complex at times, but this part is actually pretty straightforward. The way she's staring at those documents makes it seem like she's not taking them seriously at all. Instead of treating them as official court paperwork, it almost feels like she sees them as something optional or symbolic. That kind of attitude can send the wrong message in a courtroom. Court documents aren't suggestions. They carry legal weight and specific instructions. How someone handles them, even physically, reflects how seriously they take the process. When a person appears dismissive toward official paperwork, it doesn't help their credibility that in situations like this, respect for the documents and the procedure matters just as much as the words being spoken. The courtroom isn't a place for casual gestures. It's a formal setting where every action can influence how the judge views the situation. I get the feeling she might be thinking that representing herself is some kind of exciting challenge, almost like she sees it as an opportunity to prove a point or put on a performance. But a courtroom isn't a stage, and it definitely isn't a game. Choosing to represent yourself is a serious decision with real consequences. It requires a deep understanding of legal procedure, evidence rules, and courtroom conduct. Without that knowledge, things can unravel quickly. What might feel empowering at first can become overwhelming once the process actually begins. This isn't a casual setting where you can test ideas and see what sticks. It's a formal environment where every word and action matters. Treating it lightly can lead to outcomes that are far more serious than expected. I honestly can't tell if she really thinks this is some kind of game, or if she just doesn't understand how court works. It's pretty obvious this isn't the main hearing yet. Everyone in the courtroom has been trying to explain the process to her, but she keeps acting like she's about to get a final verdict right this second to the stage. The court is just making sure she understands the charges and the procedures. It's essentially an introduction, not the final decision. It's the setup, not the full hearing or judgment. The judge is just laying out the rules and making sure she's aware of her responsibilities. I'm curious what you all think. Do you think she's pretending not to understand, or does she genuinely not get it? From what I can see, it feels like a bit of both. Either way, it's clear she's not approaching this the way she should. She seems confused because she doesn't realize that the Constitution actually allows each state to create and enforce its own laws. For example, Michigan uses that authority to develop its legal system through specific codes and statutes. Those are the rules that govern how courts operate and what people are required to follow in that state. In other words, the Constitution sets the overall framework and fundamental principles, but the day-to-day legal matters, like criminal charges, court procedures, and state-specific regulations, are handled at the state level. So when the court enforces those laws, it's not contradicting the Constitution. It's actually operating within it, just at a more local and detailed level. Understanding this distinction is key. The federal Constitution provides the big-picture rules, while state laws take care of the practical, everyday legal system people interact with in court. Can you believe this? The same person who keeps arguing that the government has no authority is also accepting government disability benefits. It's an interesting contradiction, rejecting the system publicly, yet participating in it when it provides personal support. This highlights a common misunderstanding about how legal rights and government programs work. Even if someone disagrees with certain laws or policies, they can still be eligible for benefits they've earned under the system. The rules apply to everyone equally, whether or not they agree with them. That it's a striking example of how complex and sometimes contradictory people's interactions with the legal and governmental system can be. That was honestly entertaining to watch. I'd love to hear what you all think about this case. Was she pretending not to understand what was happening? Or was she genuinely confused? I personally think the judge could have been a bit firmer in handling her. Though it's possible he was trying to stay calm and professional for the record, it's wild how some people think simply quoting the Constitution makes them exempt from state laws, when in reality, the Constitution explicitly gives states the authority to create and enforce their own laws. Understanding that distinction is key, and ignoring it can cause a lot of unnecessary problems in court. I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. What did you make of her behavior, and how do you feel the judge handled it? And as always, if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.